Hey guys, today I want to tell you my most beautiful ghost story. It's actually about a family member and it does touch on death and cancer. So I just really want to put out a trigger warning there, but I really hope you enjoy it. First things first, are you subscribed? Please check, hit subscribe, hit that notification bell. Most people who watch my videos aren't even subscribed and it makes me sad. As you guys know, I did say I wanted to film a whole bunch in October and I haven't really kept up on that. I feel like I've been in a bit of like a funk. I've had a lot of like personal life stuff going on and stuff like that, so it's kind of like taken over a lot of stuff. Halloween has just felt kind of weird this year. It hasn't really felt like Halloween. I'm really embracing fall. I'm loving fall, but I'm excited for Christmas, and I think that's something people don't know about me. I live spooky all year, right? So once like September hits, I'm like ready for Christmas because Halloween is every day for me. So I am going to try really hard to post like 3-4 times a week all throughout December, and I'm just gonna amp it up with like once and twice a week in November. Just get used to it. It's a lot different doing it this way because you have a camera here, you gotta take it in, put it on your computer, you have to edit it. With TikTok, it's so easy to just shoot, quickly edit, and throw it up. So I just wanna do that for you guys because I like YouTube. It feels more stable, and I feel more connected to you guys here, and you see like more of like who I am as a person. Like, I'm wacky and I'm crazy, but you know, there's a lot of other stuff to me. But yeah, this story I'm excited to share. Obviously losing someone is really, really hard. I did lose my grandma when I was 16 years old, and as you guys knew, I was always kind of already into my gift by then. But this is a really interesting story because it's different. You're so used to when you hear a ghost story, you're gonna hear something spooky or something scary, but when things like this touch your heart and it's just different, it kind of gives you some hope and lets you know that like our loved ones are really cared for when they go on to another place. When I was 15 years old, my grandmother was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. Before Christmas, she had the test done and she told her doctor, no matter the result, I'm not gonna do treatment anyways. I wanna have a wonderful Christmas with my family. I will call you in the new year and you can tell me what is going on. She had this really bad pain in her tummy, and when she ate like fatty foods and stuff, she was throwing up, but she knew something was wrong. Like, she really knew something was wrong, but she felt ready. My grandfather had passed away extremely suddenly in 1990 or 89 or 90, before I was born, and it was very sudden. He was actually rhyming out a phone number to my grandmother. She was like 519, he's like 519, and then he just didn't call back the next number, and he had dropped and immediately died. He had type 2 diabetes, and it was just a massive heart attack that took him out immediately. But my grandmother and my grandfather were so in love. Like, they never fought, there was never any cheating, they were obsessed with each other. Like, I'm talking Gomez and Morticia Adams. Like, they loved each other, and I never met him, but still every day she would cry for my grandfather. She would cry about him every day, every dinner, at Christmas. Like, she never got over it because she loved him so much. I feel that way about Adam. Don't ever die. But my grandmother, when she did pass away, she was, I think it was 84 or 85 years old. I should know that. But she called in the new year, and he had said, you know, you do have pancreatic cancer. It is, you know, stage something. And she was like, you know what? I have lived a long life, and I have lived a good life. And I remember my mom getting mad at her because she hadn't told anyone, and mad at her because, you know, she didn't find out the results immediately so they could like take an action plan or something like that. And I remember my mom being mad, and my grandmother just like said to her, she's like, Joanne, I can't live forever. Like, I'm not gonna live forever. I've lived 80 something years. I lived a blessed life. I didn't have to work. I had a husband who loved me, children who take care of me. I can't live forever. And it was a very rapid decline, as it is with pancreatic cancer. And I think the scariest part for me was she quickly didn't become herself. Like, it was almost overnight where she was fine, and then she was kind of delusional. And I think when it comes to the final days, there are a lot of delusional moments, and it's, you know, you don't want those to be your last memories of somebody. Like, you want to remember them when they're healthy and they're strong. And for my grandmother, it was weird because there's something that seems to really resonate with a lot of people who are dying of cancer, and I've researched it a lot. But she would be on her hands and knees on her bed, and she'd be like, "Get the babies off the floor, get the babies off the floor." And it seems like a lot of people who are dying do see children. Or she'd start talking about her sisters being in the room and stuff like that. And I've definitely learned over the years that, you know, people come in and out, and like, you know, when you're between those two different places of life and death and that transition period, like, you know, when you're watching static and you can kind of see a TV show coming through, like, I think people were kind of coming for her, but I wasn't seeing anything. And as we know, I was already like really prevalent in like the paranormal stuff and seeing things and stuff like that. So one day my mother was up there. I should rewind a little bit there. I was really worried about my grandmother being alone. I don't know if you guys know this, but my mom has multiple sclerosis. She's full-time in a wheelchair. She has been since I was about 14 years old. So she had been in a wheelchair a couple years at this time, and my uncle would not go up to the hospital to see my grandmother while she was sick. And I had a very big, horrible pain in my heart that she was ever there alone. So I would skip school. I would leave like my social studies class, and I would take the city bus down to the hospital, and I would sit beside her and I would read to her. I did this like a couple times a week, and it was kind of okay. Like my mom understood, and like the school understood what was going on, and I didn't want her to be alone if something was going to happen. And at this point, she had kind of been in like that coma. If you've dealt with it, then you know they kind of go to sleep for like a few days, a few weeks before death actually happens. And she was just really asleep, or I would try talking to her, and you would see her kind of resonate a little bit, but towards the end, not at all. She was just very asleep. And there was one day when my mom was there with my dad, and she was doing what they call like the death rattle, where like you breathe like it's kind of a scary breath. And I called her and I was like, "Hey, are you up there?" And she's like, "Yes, but I don't think that you should come up here because it's a little scary." And she didn't, you know, they wanted to protect me. They didn't want me to see that. But I think, you know, I was ready and prepared. Like, she's my grandmother. I'm gonna be there, and I want to see what's gonna happen. So she had leaned into my grandmother and said, "Okay, Mom, I'm gonna go home and feed Joel dinner," because my brother was young at the time, "and then I'm gonna come back up." So when she was leaving the hospital, she crossed me and my previous boyfriend, also Adam, in the hallway, and she just said, you know, just be warned when you go in there. So when I went in there, she was breathing, but it wasn't what my mother described. And I thought, oh, okay, like she's calmed down in that. So I took a brush out of her drawer beside her, and I just started like lightly brushing her hair. And then I realized that she wasn't even doing the breathing that was going on when I went in the room. And I kind of like laid the brush down and I just waited, and it was so weird because there was such an absence of noise. Like when you're in a hospital, there's all these beeps, there's all these things, there's all of these moments. And I just remember there was 2 women in the room. It was crazy because they couldn't move her up to the ward where people usually like go to pass away because they were too full. We always joked about that. Dark. We always joked about that. It was like, she went first, like she should have got in there. But I remember this woman and her daughter were across from my grandma's bed, and their sound was gone, all the sound was gone, and I was just staring at my grandma's mouth and like her chest, and it just wasn't moving. And then my boyfriend at the time just like came in, he grabbed my shoulder because he had lost his grandfather, and he was like, you know, she's gone. So he grabbed the curtain and he pulled it around, and I remember just standing there, and I was like, I should get the nurse. I should get the nurse. So I went out in the hall, and she was walking down. I just said, I think my grandmother's gone. And the nurse came in, and you could tell she wasn't soft. She just like looked at her, and she's like, "Oh, yes, do you want to call your mom or me?" And then she walked away. I was like, "I'll call her." So this is where it gets beautiful. I know it was a little dark, but this is one of my favorite memories of my life. So when I came out of my grandmother's room, there was a hallway. There were 3 different doors, and there was a phone in between, and then there was just the end of the hallway. It was just a wall. No stairs, no anything like that. So I walked to the hallway, and I picked up the phone, and I called home, and my brother picked up, and he was being so silly. And I was like, "Put Mom and Dad on the phone, put Mom and Dad on the phone." And they're like, "Okay." They just pulled in the driveway. And he handed the phone to my dad, and I just said, you know, Grandma is gone, you guys need to come back up here. And he was like, "Oh, okay." And he hung up. And I hung up the phone and all I felt was this like combination of hot and cold air, like it was flipping from hot to cold really, really fast. And I turned around this way towards my grandma's room, not towards the wall, and people were walking right past me, and I did like a full spin like that to look at who it was, and I could see the back of them, and their color was a little bit off. It was almost like looking at one of those sepia kind of toned photographs that has like a little bit of color to it. And I just saw them from the back, and it was, my whole body went chills because I knew who it was. Oh my god, I'm gonna cry. I had always seen photos of my grandfather, and I had seen photos from him in the back, and I knew what my grandmother looked like, and it was my grandfather with my grandmother had passed by me. And he had his arm around her, and they were walking, and I like turned around for 1 second, and then I turned back around, and they were just gone. Like there were no stairs, and I paced down that hall, and I looked in all those rooms. 2 of them were empty, 1 just had somebody in it, and they just weren't there. And I went back to the room, and the nurse had, you know, she was back in there with my grandmother, and my boyfriend was standing there, and I just had this like peace over me because she had longed for my grandfather forever, and she cried so much about him, and it was weird. There was sound. It was like a bustling street kind of sound when they walked by, like they were on their way somewhere that they were excited to go, and you could just feel the energy, and it just felt happy, and it just felt beautiful, and I got goosebumps thinking about it, and I will never forget that story, that when it was finally time for her to pass, it was a couple minutes after she passed, but he was there, and he took her arm around, and they walked out, and they left. And after my grandma passed away, we made a deal. My mom made a deal with her. She said, okay, my mom has seen ghosts, but she's like, I really want to, like, I really want to know they're real. I need you to come back to me. I need you to show me. But I know that when my grandma found my grandpa, that she would be so at peace that we would never hear from her again. And I've never seen her, and I've never heard from her again. And I just know she's happy. Like, I can feel it, you know? Anyways, I just wanted to share that with you guys. I hope you're having an amazing October, and I hope that really good things are coming your way. I recently watched The Secret, and I've just learned so much about the law of attraction and positive thinking, and I just think that 2021 is going to be really good for all of us, and I'm going to manifest it for all of you guys, because the fact that you guys take time to like watch me and be a part of my life, I don't think I can ever explain to you guys how much that means to me. I've always wanted this so bad, and it's better than I could have ever expected. Anyways, I love you guys. We have new merch coming out. I'm gonna sneeze. What was that? I have new merch coming out. There's gonna be a couple Christmas things, but I really want to focus on a mental health line. I have a portion of all of it's going to be going towards mental health here in my town. We have a lot of issues. A couple years ago, we actually lost a teen student almost every single month of the year, and it was terrifying. But yeah, new merch is coming out, and don't forget my books. You can always find them on Amazon. My websites are beautyxboo.com, which is makeup, and CelinaSpookyBoo.com, which is merch. I just love you guys. I love you. Please subscribe. Please follow me on Instagram. It'd be so cool to hit 500K. I'm going to manifest it. Okay, bye guys.